Well. Cup of tea, Nikki, you, me, many things we do. Talking of a cup of tea. Whenever I drink a cup of tea, reminds me of being home in Wales. Specifically reminds me of being home with my mum and my dad. That's when I drank my first cup of tea. It also reminds me of being in the kitchen with my nan. Now, if I get like some dried coffee and some milk, and heat the milk up in a saucepan, and then put the dried, the normal coffee, not real coffee as we call it, instant coffee, in with it. So, bit of sugar, and I love that taste, because every time I taste that, it reminds me of when I used to do my paper round when I was a kid. It'd be really cold, and on my way round, I used to go do this paper round. I'd call in and see my nan, and she'd make me a coffee when it was cold in the winter, coffee made with milk. That was my first experience of a latte, except it was made with Nescafe and some milk. But every time I drink a cup of tea, reminds me of home. Now you're thinking, get to the point, Nick. Why are you talking about this stuff? Okay. When I have that memory of back then, that's called anchoring in NLP. And anchoring is really important. These were positive experiences I remembered. Sadly, we have quite negative ones as well, which are called also anchored in our psychology. So there's positive and negative anchors that happen to us, and what we can do is do a really easy practice, and I'm just going to give you a little talk through this. It's something that I found very powerful. In the spiritual belief, it's called regression, and basically the spiritual belief is going back and visiting your ancestors, but it's more than that really. Let's go back and just visit your ancestral feelings. So you can pick an emotion, a bad emotion, a good emotion, and I can kind of think of the last cup of tea I had right now, and I can think of a cup of tea I maybe had a couple of days ago, but then if I say to somebody, remember a cup of tea you had a couple of weeks ago, it's quite difficult. I can remember having a really nice cup of tea when I was camping last, and coming outside my tent and on my motorbike and getting up in the morning and making myself a nice cup of tea, because that's anchored in a really amazing experience of the sun coming up. And I was going down to see Simon. He's from Caerphilly in Wales, and he was riding over to meet me in Holland area. And we both met. I came from Sweden and he came from Wales, and we met there on the bikes. There's many different anchors, and this is just going in a cup of tea I've got right away through my life. So I can remember being home with my mum, getting home from school, and Mum would be home, Dad would still be in work usually, and I'd have a cup of tea. Then Dad would come home. My mum was obsessive about tea, by the way. Absolutely obsessive about tea. So she'd make my dad a cup of tea. I'd have another cup of tea. And then she'd have another cup of tea after that, and so on and so forth. And everything was a cup of tea. You were happy, you had a cup of tea in Wales. If you were sad, you had a cup of tea in Wales. Have a cup of tea, love. It'll make you feel better, it will. So basically, tea, to me, it's a good cup of tea. PG tips. My favourite's Yorkshire tea though. So, anchoring comes from, usually if you've had a few experiences of the same thing, it takes about three kind of really deeply emotional experiences of the same thing for it to set into you. So I had quite a lot of emotional processes with what I went through with that, but also I had some really negative emotional processes back then as well, which I hadn't really looked at. I've recently been doing some deep meditation, working with this guy called Kane, which I'm doing this course with. And it really helped me to think in-depthly about what was actually a blockage I had before in my life about learning. I always thought I was stupid, I wasn't intelligent, I wasn't very good at kind of learning these things. So I come to realize I'm not really stupid. I'm quite a smart chap. And I've got quite an intellectual brain, but I analyse a lot. But but I had a blockage against learning. And where that came from is I had some really tough experiences in school. Obviously being dyslexic, ADHD basically means I wasn't able to focus for long periods of time. The classrooms are not very stimulating. They're about sitting still, being in a position. If I was able to get up and move a bit like what I'm doing now, maybe I would have learnt a lot better. Maybe if I could have interacted with the kids in my classroom, which I did, and then I got classed as naughty, but I was a social person. I wanted to interact, and I worked better when I was interacting, and I work much better when I'm working with a group as well. I'm that type of person. I'm much better when I can interact with people and engage them and create an energy and infuse that energy. That's what I did when I was doing my education recently for my last company. I used elements of NLP and that to kind of rebuild people when I could see them cutting hair really nervously, and I helped them to see that it was a different way of presenting themselves, was able to give them a better way of thinking about themselves. So I challenged their view they had of them. And that view had been anchored. I didn't have to do much just to kind of shift them and get them to believe in themselves. And I said, you could do this anywhere in your life. So if you really think about it, my biggest problem was with learning was I had some really horrible experiences. And I can't blame the teachers back then. The teachers weren't that great, to be honest with you. They were all right, but they weren't great. One of my first experiences was when I cut the top off my finger in the infant school. And I was left-handed, I'm a lefty. The teacher got upset at me because I was sitting at the classroom and told me I had to write something to use my right hand. I cried, got upset. I really didn't like that because I just wanted some sympathy. I cut the bloody top off my finger playing football in a shed in a garage with my friend, a kid called Dewi Jones, which is dead now. Sad. He went to Australia. Don't even want to get into that one. That's another anchor. I have to work on that one as well. So I went like that, cut the top off my finger, went to school. Teacher said, you can't write with your left hand. Go to your right hand. And forever I never switched back to my left hand. And I remember that experience of feeling worthless. Yeah. And being embarrassed. And my handwriting was terrible all the way through school. Because I was a left-hander. I should have been writing with my left hand, not with my right hand. Because I was using the wrong side of my brain. Before that, I was in the infant school at the top end. There was a nursery school when I was really young. And I had a bad stomach and I put my hand up in the classroom and asked the teacher, and she ignored me and ignored me and ignored me. And eventually when she did pay attention to me, I said, I need to go to the toilet. She said, you have to wait. And I had such a bad stomach that I couldn't wait. And basically, I shit myself. And I was only a little kid, this little kid now, having to sit on a chair in my own shit until eventually then she remembered and she went, oh, do you want to go to the toilet now? And I just went, it's too late. And I can remember feeling so embarrassed about this experience. And these experiences have been anchored in me all of my life. And I didn't realize how much of an effect they were having on my present day. Because my association with being in school and learning was I'm usually going to have bad experiences. They'd been anchored. And then I had another teacher also, Mrs. Holder. She basically, I think that was her name, if I remember right. I was in then the intermediate school, which we called the junior school, and we get there till before we got to the comp. And I loved playing rugby, but I wasn't very good at reading and writing, and she wanted me to finish my times table. So she then told me I couldn't go and play rugby that day, which was the only thing I loved, unless I finished doing this work she wanted me in the classroom. I'd almost finished it and the bus was going to leave and I was going as fast as I could. Because I didn't finish, instead of her saying she could see I made a big effort and see how much it meant to me, but she didn't let me go. I was furious. I put the book down, threw it in the corner. She couldn't talk to me. She basically couldn't do anything with me after that. I'd made a decision at that point. I'd had a couple of bad experiences in schools, being told I couldn't write with my one hand. Told, in other words, you're stupid because you write with your left hand. That was what I was told. Then I shit myself when I was really young in a class, which was really a horrific experience for a little kid to happen to him. Being embarrassed, being sent home, a couple of kids laughing at me. And then on top of that, then having this teacher stopping me from doing something I loved, even though I'd proven to her that I could work hard, instead of her rewarding me and saying, well done, Nick, she didn't let me go and play my rugby. And that was it. I'm not going to learn now. And that stuck it in my brain. Plus, I was already struggling. I'd been sent down to what we used to call the slow learning class, and they said there was something wrong with me. And I got sent back up because they said they couldn't. I was super smart. I wasn't stupid. They said, but they couldn't work out what was wrong with me because I could read, basically, and I could write, basically, but I really struggled. I was a bit slower, but they said I was really smart, and that's ADHD, isn't it? Not being able to focus, not being able to keep yourself direct. So these experiences, I had to go back then through this therapy of lifting myself out of myself, knowing where my past was, walking back into my past, looking at these experiences, and me as an adult now, going back to these kids, these things that happened to, not the teacher, but going back to as Nick, and saying to the little Nick, which was really sweet, it's all going to be all right, and giving me a hug in my mind, and giving myself, saying, look, bruv, it wasn't your fault you had a bad stomach, and the teacher was stupid, and she didn't know that you were really had a bad stomach and you were going to shit yourself. She just didn't care. She basically was so wrapped up in her own shit, and you don't know what she was going through. You were only a little kid at the time, so it's just really bad that happened to you, but don't worry about it. And giving him a hug and telling him it's all going to be all right. Even though my mum and that was good with me, I had to say it to myself, and I was like, let go of that experience. Then the other one with the top of the finger, then I thought, well, yeah, it is much easier to be a right-handed than a left-handed. So that teacher also thought she was doing me a favour, but it doubted it. It made me doubt myself. It made me think that I was stupid to think it was okay to write with my left hand. My dad's left-handed. I'm left-handed. So, yeah. So it's funny, isn't it? Yeah. So I forgave the teacher for saying that to me, and I told Nick, you know, don't worry about it. This is going to be a gift because you're going to be ambidextrous. You're going to be able to do a load more stuff with your right hand. It's going to be easier for you in the long run. But you're still going to always be a left-handed person in your mind, and you're always going to think left-handed. And then a bit older, when that other teacher did that to me, turn around and saying to that little kid, Nick, it was horrible that the teacher didn't do that to you. And, you know, for giving him a hug and telling him it's all going to be all right, and explaining to him how I felt right now, that was really cruel to not let me go on that coach. And yes, I was right to feel those feelings, but not let them feelings set such a strong anchor that to think I can't learn, and not to trust people, because I had a really big issue with trusting people, especially people in authority, for most of my life because of these experiences I had. I'd also had a couple of coppers in my village that had it in for me and a couple of my mates because we had long hair, and we were we were a bit mixed up, but we weren't up to nothing that bad. We weren't robbing shops and going around creating shit and you know, being abusive to people. We just up to our own mischief. We used to like drinking and going on a mountain and smoking. That was it, you know. We were just typical young teenagers. But anyway, cut a long story short, I've been through all of my life not realising these were the anchors that kind of put a blockage to me accepting myself. And doing that, I was like, wow, it was a big weight lifted off my shoulders. As you can tell, it was a big experience for me. So I wanted to share this with you. And it's called anchoring. And basically, you can look it up a little bit in RP. If you'd like to give you a session on this, give me a call on Messenger. And not a problem at all. I can do a video chat and do a kind of what I call a transitional process for you guys, because I've been doing it on my friend's year. I've already got my practitioner license. I'm about to get my master practitioner license. I'm going for my life coaching license. Qualification, sorry, not license. And yeah, I'm qualified to do this for you. So if you want me to take you through a process where I can regress you and help you to go through something, maybe some present anger or problem you have with certain authority, then just tell me and we'll go from there, yeah? So, I just wanted to send you some love. Hope you're having a wicked day. Yeah, this is a bit of a long video, but I thought I'd share something with you that I've been going through. Like I promised you I would share everything. So I am going to share everything. And have an amazing day. Okay? Wow. Yeah, it was good. What an amazing journey this has been. Thank you for tuning in, and cup of tea. Nothing like a cup of tea. Have a cup of tea. Bye-bye, guys.